Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining myself this evening and Adriana from Gynem Fertility Clinic, who is kindly spending time with us this evening to talk about post-embryo transfer, the dreaded 2-week wait, what to focus on, what to avoid. And I am personally in that phase right now. So everyone who's listening who may also be there at the moment, I 100% feel what you're going through, and I'm really excited and interested to hear all the wonderful bits of information that you have, Adriana, which I know that you're going to be discussing shortly. So please could you introduce yourself and your role at Gynem Fertility Clinic?
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much to let me speak at the Ribbon Box. Very much appreciated. So to introduce myself, I'm a psychologist and a coordinator at the Gynem Clinic in Prague. That's in the capital city in the Czech Republic. Gynem is a small family clinic, and we have currently celebrated 10 years this year. And we also have our... Thank you very much. And our doctors, they do have very much a long time, many years of experience. And myself, I'm, as I said, a psychologist and also a coordinator of the foreign patients. So I do have like insight into the treatment and all which is what it comes with it. So I can tell you some more about that. I'm not an IVF medical expert, but I will tell you a lot from the psychological perspective. We will look on the challenging life situations generally. We will have some examples. Also, sure, what to expect post-transfer. Where does emotion generally come from? How to work with emotion and thoughts. How much to prioritize rest, which is very important. And the things you should absolutely avoid after the embryo transfer. Last but not least, we will get to how to talk about difficult thoughts and emotions, which you can use with your partner or with your relatives and friends. At the end, we will get to a discussion. Okay, so let's start with a question. You can just tell it to yourself or briefly just think about this question. What challenging life situations do you know? I have here put some of them. It can be actually also a wedding. That's also a challenging life situation. It can be firing, funeral, some health issues, or general a grief, a depression period. So all these life situations people usually face in their life. If they want or not, the life just goes on, and we can always learn from them. You can maybe go to some of those challenging life situations in your life and have a look, how did you handle them? What did you do that time, and how did you manage? And maybe you can have a look, what did you learn that time, and use it also during the fertility treatment, because this is also a challenging life situation. So what do you think? What emotions come up in such a challenging life situation? There are many. I have listed, I guess, all of them, but of course, feel free to add yourself if you have another one. And I really would like to stress the first one, and that's a shame, because shame is usually not really talked about it. And in the fertility treatment, you can face it a lot. You can experience it, for example, with your friends, if somebody asks you. So shame is there, and it's totally normal. There are other ones like fear, anxiety, panic, sadness, anger. Doesn't matter whether towards yourself or the others. Envy can be there as well. Hopelessness is a very deep, but it is there as well, this emotion. Mental pain, it means in general, like the emotion of hopelessness and mental pain, but there is also hope. So all these emotions usually you are experienced during challenging life situations and also fertility treatment. I want to stress that all these emotions can occur during and after embryo transfer, but all these emotions are okay. They are common, and they are temporary, which is very, very much important for you to know that those emotions will end at some point. So even if you're really feeling not really good at the moment, you can maybe like stress and name which emotion do you feel at the moment, just to get a little bit of orientation. What is it actually for an emotion? And tell it to yourself that it is okay to feel it. It is common. Many women, men, and couples feel it as well, and they are temporary. Let's get to some basic psychological principles. I know that looks a lot about theory, but we will also get to the practice, how to use it, especially after the embryo transfer. You can maybe print it out. So let's say you have a small manual after the embryo transfer, just to strengthen every like situation. For example, the embryo transfer is perceived individually, and that's totally okay. Yeah, your partner can experience the situation in a different manner than yourself. The second point, everyone do experience emotions. They may not be visible, but they are there. So if you're not sure if somebody is feeling anything, just ask. Third point, everyone has received a different amount of resilience and vulnerability in their lives. This has something to do with the genetics and, of course, how your parents let you grow up, and what did you receive during your life experiences. And this also makes the perception individually. For some people, it is embryo transfer, it's a normal situation. To some person, it is very stressful. The fourth one, everyone needs a different length of time to achieve well-being. This means that for somebody, it will be 2 days and he will feel fine. But for somebody, it will take a little bit longer. So don't blame yourself if you're the longer one, or don't blame the others that they feel very well directly after the embryo transfer. Let's get to the core needs, and that's that everyone needs to sleep, eat, and take care of themselves to function and to make decisions. And decisions are very important in the fertility treatment. So please take care after the embryo transfer. Also, everyone needs to be kind to themselves. So if there are any thoughts, they are not really nice, just let's say get distracted out of these emotions and be kind to yourself. And if you're afraid to ask for help, everyone usually do for the first time, feel free to ask for it. Maybe you can start with, can I talk to you for a minute? I do not feel so well. And then you can start to ask for help. Thank you. Let's get back to the emotions, because we really would like to know, where does emotion actually come from? Where does it start? Generally, it is a reaction to the situation, of course. So there is something which makes it start. But actually, the first is the thought that comes first. And first then the emotion arises there as a reaction to the thought. So that's why we will get the attention to the thoughts. They may be hidden behind the emotions, but we need to, let's say, find them, have a look to them. Emotion, of course, is a signal of liking or disliking. And there is also the physical reaction that is connected with the emotion and the thought. That means, what do you feel in your body? If you ask for example, for anxiety, you may say, I feel like very much pushing on my breast or here, yeah, or at the back. That's quite common. And then we have the fourth piece of the reaction, and that's the behavior. So what do? How do I react? Do I go to Google and ask Google for some information, or do I go for a walk? That's the behavior. And we really have to pay attention first to the thoughts, because they come first. Have a look on a small example of this. So I have written down one sentence, one possible thought that can occur after the embryo transfer. So I will read it. I have stressed myself too much. It is bad for the embryo. and I have done everything wrong. This thought, it seems quite heavy, but maybe if you pay attention to yourself, if it can occur. Yeah, sometimes we just do not pay attention to the thoughts because they are too painful, but it's fine actually to work with them. The emotion that occur from this thought is maybe sadness, fear, anxiety, and maybe also anger, that I do feel like this. I don't want to feel like this. I also feel tension in the body, back pain, and your heart is beating very fast. What you do at the moment, for example, is check in Google if stress is actually bad for embryo implantation. You control your body for several times, and it is hard to concentrate on anything else. So now we get to this example. It may be a little bit stressful, I know, but we will now have a look how to work with these emotions and thoughts. And here we go. If you have the small paper, you can write down a small homework after this webinar, which you can use later on. So first, what you do is that you write down your thought. You will just ask yourself, how do I feel? Why do I feel like this? What do I actually think about this whole situation? And then you write down the thought and the emotion as well. Third step is to ask yourself if this thought is actually correct. I don't want to say that your thoughts are not correct, but I just want to tell you that maybe some of them are not that right that you may think. And ask yourself if this thought is actually helpful for you. We will now search for the facts and I will explain it to you. So we had the example. I have stressed myself too much. That is bad for the embryo. I have done everything wrong. Especially have a look on the last one. Yeah, there is the word everything wrong. What comes with it is sadness, fear, anxiety, and we will now search for the facts that actually say something for the thought. So I have put down, I have not been relaxed today, so I can feel it in my body. I was in tension all day, and this thought stressed me out even more. So like this stressful thought stresses me more, and I'm just in the circle and cannot get out. That's actually true. That speaks for the thought. But there are also facts that they say and speak against the thought. So doctor didn't tell me that some stress is bad for the embryo. I have actually been doing some relaxation techniques. I slept very well last night. And I have been taking all medication correctly. So please have a look. The green lines, green sentences, there are actually more. So they speak like against the thought. That means that the thought I have done everything wrong is actually wrong. I hope you get it. But maybe it's good if you try to do it on your own examples with your own thoughts. So the outcome is that we will write down the original thought. We have spoken about it. We know the not so nice emotions coming from sadness, fear, and anxiety. And we will now find an alternative thought which you make feel better with. And that, for example, means I've written down here, maybe I am stressed out a little bit, but this is normal in my situation. As we have said, a little bit stress, a little bit sadness, those emotions are normal, common, and also temporary. So I also know that I'm doing pretty much things right. I'm relaxing, taking the medication, and sleeping well. I am doing all I can. At this point, it's down to the nature, so out of my control. And this thought make you feel a little bit better. Let's have a look on the emotions. There is actually hope. There is gratitude to your own, and there is trust. So that's how you can work with the thoughts and emotions. Let's get further. And there was also the question, I guess it's very much important. A lot of people will ask, you this, how much to prioritize the rest. I will say a lot because it is your moment, it is your body, your time, and it's just very much your moment which you can enjoy if you can. Yeah, if you, let's say, train it a little bit to enjoy these days, even if waiting after the embryo transfer can be hard. So I would suggest that you can make like a little schedule for those 14 days, and you can like make the time for yourself, at least like 1 hour, when you plan something nice. It doesn't need to be, I will go to a restaurant and eat something nice. It doesn't need to be about food. It should be something more about your inner yourself. So you can also ask yourself, how do I actually rest? What did I do during the life challenging situations in my past? How do I actually gain energy? You can discuss it with your partner before you start preparing your schedule. It's better to have a look on the schedule before, or you can also search it if you're already in the period of waiting. Just plan the next day. What can I do the next day for myself so I feel good? Some people and some patients, let's say, share their story and search for a therapy sharing group. It is usually a similar group with other fertility patients. It may be online, but it can be also in person. I would prefer those in person because it's nice to meet people, to speak, to chat with them in the similar situation. The time for yourself can also be just with your diary. And that's the homework I'm getting to. Write down all the emotions and thoughts you feel and analyze them a little bit how we've done before. So step by step and searching maybe for an alternative thought. It will free your mind, and you can also look back to see your progress during those 14 days or maybe during your previous attempts in fertility. It's also very much important is to do relaxation techniques. You can add them to your daily routine, and there are many of them. You can try to look for the progressive muscle relaxation, autogenic training, and of course yoga for pregnant women. Some women also prefer the it's called relaxation for pelvic floor, which is connected to like your pelvic, and it makes it more relaxed. The blood is floating a little bit, so it's called pelvic floor relaxation technique. You can try to Google for a video and try it. And last but not least, you can try psychological counseling or psychotherapy because it is a challenging situation waiting after the embryo transfer, general the fertility treatment, and there are a lot of very nice psychologists that can help you. You can attend like 3-4 times and just during this period. Here I've put down some things you should absolutely avoid. You might hear those things also from your doctors. What I will definitely stress is saying no to any discussion websites or any online chattings, because if you look back, you can spend a lot of hours discussing anything on Google or websites, and at the end it is very exhausting. So it's preferable to spend this time with a walk, with a nice shower, or with something that makes you feel very good. If of course, if you need to search for anything, please prefer expert articles from gynecologists, evidence-based, any scientific articles. Usually doctors recommend not to bathe. It's better to take a shower. That's because of the infection risk. It is the same with a swimming pool or sauna. Please do not lift heavy objects and ask someone for help. Also, don't try anything new because it can cause like allergy. So please stick to food that you know. Further, do not experiment with medication. Please stay the medication that is prescribed to you and stick to the times you should take it. Also, very interesting, many patients ask this question if they can go jogging. So I would prefer not to jog because it's like jumping and that's not so good if your body's not used to it. Please prefer something that is not exhausting to your body. So do more sport for fun, like walking, anything more fluent. And the last point, it can sound a little bit rude, but it's good to avoid anyone that exhausts you. It can be friends, it can be family members, somebody that you really takes out the energy out of you. So it's better to meet people that you love and that you can trust. We are heading slowly to the end. And on this last slide, I would like to talk about how to talk with somebody about the difficult thoughts and emotions you maybe have written into your diary, or maybe that are just at the moment in your mind. To start with yourself, of course, so no need to be ashamed because of these thoughts. Anyone can have them and it's perfectly fine. These emotions are experienced. Well, I have the experience with couples and women, men, so I can tell you these emotions are really experienced by many women, and it's totally fine. Please allow yourself to feel those emotions, yes? So don't run away from those. Just sit down, stay with the emotions. They won't hurt you. It's maybe better to write them on paper and free your mind. Once you've done that, you can tell those emotions and thoughts to your loved ones. So you can choose or pick somebody that energizes you. And you can start with something like, I'm not feeling well, I'm sad, can we talk a little bit? Or you can already give a direct instruction to the person, can you hug me for a while, or something like that? Because the other people are sometimes hopeless as well. You can let the emotions flow out, totally free. And that's what I already mentioned. Avoid people who belittle your thoughts or emotions. So search really for those people who you trust and you feel good with. So thank you very much. And I really want to compliment you that you've participated today and you've done your first active step in care for your mental health after the embryo transfer. Congrats.
Thank you. That was wonderfully helpful, especially living it now. I'd love to open up the floor for questions. We've had a couple, so I'm going to ask you some live questions if that's okay, and then we can talk about some of the ones people sent in advance. So what are your thoughts on acupuncture post-embryo transfer?
Well, acupuncture is nice, let's say, adds-on technique that many clinics offer. Usually it's better if somebody is afraid of needles or anything like this. It is better not to do acupuncture. But if you've already experienced it and you know you can relax, you can trust the person doing it, it's actually recommended because acupuncture, let's say, makes you relax also those muscles you cannot relax with your own mind and with your own will. So those like inner muscles also in the pelvic floor relax and can help the embryo to implant.
What about foods? You mentioned not avoiding foods that you may not have tried before, just in case you might be allergic, which makes sense. But do you think that there are good foods to eat at this stage, or is it more just everything's happened now, so sort of let your body take control of what's going to happen?
Well, I would recommend to eat something you really know. So anything what is a shock to your body or it's totally new, it takes the energy, and the body needs the energy elsewhere. At the embryo, at the implantation, and that's where we need the energy. So I would just recommend to stick to the food you know, and of course adding some like natural style of food. So it means vegetables, not that many sugar, some seasonal fruits or something that grows in your land, everything that your body is known to. And but this is better to add already before the embryo transfer, so your body can like stick to this and be ready that you will continue this healthy eating also after the embryo transfer.
What's your advice in terms of not analysing every twinge and headache or symptom? How do you know what might be a sign that it's worked versus just the progesterone symptoms?
So I can really imagine what you mean, because nowadays we are trained also from doctors to keep our body under control, to keep watching everything. And every sign can stress us out, if it's a headache, if it's a little stitch or so. So in this point of view, I will recommend to distract the mind a little bit. Just go for a walk and say that it's temporary, because a lot of times the headache is temporary or the stitches are temporary as well. And if it will still last for a couple of hours or even days, surely you can go and ask your doctor for a checkup. So that means also for bleeding. If you bleed or anything after the transfer, if it's just 1 hour and then it stops, it can be fine. But if it's running for a longer time, it's better to have a checkup.
It's amazing how the 2-week period in normal times it would rush by, but these days drag on. Something that you haven't mentioned, which I'd be keen to know your thoughts on. What are your thoughts psychologically on testing at home early?
Very good question, and I can imagine that a lot of people or women couples will get to this thought. Well, generally, from the psychological point of view, we want to be sure, but we know that pregnancy, even if it's positive, has still stages. So we will always wait for something. We will wait for the first ultrasound, for the first trimester scanning. We will wait for the second trimester, for the labor and everything. And this is like the waiting stress us out. So it's better to like stay in the moment, really, let's say, gain the energy at the moment and not really look until tomorrow. Just be here and really wait for those 14 days before you test yourself with a blood test. That's the best. And don't test earlier. Those tests can give you very easily a false negative or even false positive test, which can make you feel very anxious, or you don't know if it's really right. Those tests are not that sensible as a blood test. So definitely, if you can wait 10 days, you can wait also 14 days.
How do I keep anxiety low before and after transfer? You've mentioned after, but any thoughts on before?
Sure, there can be also thoughts before. I've experienced patients that measured their pulse, like how the heart is pulsing, and this is totally stressful, of course. So any type of controlling oneself, it's not so good. Try to make like a small schedule, what to do before the transfer. To drink some water, maybe take a book, so you're totally distracted from all the stressful things. You can listen to nice music. That's very good. Sometimes you are able to take the music with you to the transfer, if it's allowed at the clinic. And you can also, if your partner is a good support to you, just ask him to be there with you. So he's at your side, you can hold hands, and he's a great support to you. So those are all things how to keep the anxiety low. And if you think you have some questions for the medical or for the doctors, just write them down. It also makes you the anxiety go lower, because I have it on my paper and I will not forget anything to ask. And you can still keep reading your book and not like thinking about all it in the detail. It's really better to like trust your body that it's doing everything fine, and not to overthink. But I know it's hard, but that's why it's need to like train with the thoughts and emotions and know yourself a little bit, so you can add the music or you can add a walk before the transfer.
If someone is with a partner, or if someone is doing it solo but is speaking to a friend or a relative, for example, how would you suggest communicating?
As I've already mentioned, the relatives and friends can feel the same hopelessness as you do, because they don't know what to tell you, or what should they ask you, how they feel. So it is better to instruct the relatives directly. And I mean really saying like, please don't ask me if it's positive or negative. I will tell you on my own. That can be very good for you, just to make a border where the relative can go and where just not. And it's also good to give the instructions, for example, for your partner, so that you want him to be there, or that he should care for you, he should bring you some water, he should ask you how you feel. So giving like really direct, concrete, and short instructions to your relatives is a very good way how you can receive a good help that you actually want, and not anything that you actually don't want.
And what can someone do to give themselves the best chance of the embryo implanting?
Very nice question. I would say very important thing is to get known yourself. How do I function? What do I actually need in my life? Also, what is actually the reason for me to have the baby? Just to think about these quite deep questions in advance, so you can know that everything is, let's say, cleaned in the mind before you attend the embryo transfer attempt. And of course, taking care of yourself, so keeping the stress low. That will mean not working on the day of the embryo transfer, maybe flying the day after, maybe taking some vitamins, medication as advised, having there the person you love, maybe taking some small amulet. I don't know how it's called, but someone has a toy, or someone has a small anything that he might take with him as to bring him luck. So anything that like makes you stronger, makes you feel better, and makes you trust in yourself and in your body. Also, if it's hard to like get along with your body, just to get it known and like trust it more than you do before. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah. Progesterone, I know that you're not a doctor, but is progesterone important after the transfer, and who prescribes it?
Yes, you're right. I'm not a doctor, but I know as well that progesterone is important. It is the hormone that, let's say, keeps the endometrium high and makes it sticky, so the embryo can implant. So this is something which you can discuss with your doctor. It really depends also on your fertility type. If it's IVF with own eggs or donor eggs, it's a totally different way how you add progesterone to your body, and it's only the doctor who can prescribe it.
And are people able to exercise post-embryo transfer, like walk the dog, for example?
Yes, if you have a dog, I totally recommend going out with your dog once or twice per day. It makes you relax. Let's say the body and eyes, they really love green. So if you can be in nature, that's the best for you. But for example, if you experience bleeding or something like that after embryo transfer, it's better to lie down. Please discuss this with your doctor. And exercising like jogging or fitness is definitely not recommended. It exhausts your body, and the body needs the energy elsewhere. It needs it for the implantation of the embryo. So exercising slightly, yes, but not like fitness or jogging. Walking is the best way of exercising.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and for everyone sending in brilliant questions. that what you've talked about has been really helpful, even for me at this stage, mentally. You know, when you just hear someone else say the things that you know that you should be doing or trying to avoid, and just putting those into practice. But the team at Gynem Fertility Clinic would love to support you. As we said, leading fertility clinic in the Czech Republic. Here are the team's details. Please do reach out. They would be very happy to answer any personalized questions, personalized treatment plans, consultations. So that's the best way of speaking to the expert team holistically to get going with your fertility journey, or for next steps. So really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It was a pleasure to speak here at Ribbon Box. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.